Hello, welcome back to my channel, and today we're taking a look at the Dragon Age Veilguard. Now, this is the new game that's been out for a while, and just got around having a look at it, and honestly I was kinda concerned about the performance because, you know, the pre-leaks, the information for the hardware required were pretty high, and honestly I was not disappointed. Now, as you might notice, we're not in the game yet. I decided when it comes to Electronic Arts and BioWare, they usually do put out these kind of comparison tables, and this is just for yourself, guys. You can just stop it and read through what they recommend for everything rather than me reciting it, you know, just talking, essentially, more talking, so, you know, a little bit of visual reference. So we're talking about the requirements, and we're going to go through a little bit of this list. I do have the game running in the background, and I pulled up the task manager just so you can guys see how much resources this game pulls. Obviously we will have MSI enabled as well. So for minimum hardware you would require for 1080p 30 frames on low preset, they want you to have an Intel Core i5-8400 with 6 cores, 6 threads, at least 16 gigs of RAM, and GPU should be a GTX 970 or GTX 1650. SSD preferred, HDD supported, so that's fair enough. For recommended 2K 30 frames, Full HD 60, high preset, they want you to have a Core i9 99K with 8 cores, 16 threads, or Ryzen 3700. Again, 16 gigs of RAM. GPU wise, they want you to have at least NVIDIA RTX 2070. VRAM 8 gigs, 100 gigs of space, obviously SSD required. For ultra gaming experience, 4K 60 frames, ultra preset, Intel Core i9 12900K. I'm just gonna call it 12 Gen i9, honestly, because that's just simpler for myself. You can look at the CPU naming conventions and see that there's not too much of a difference between them unless you really want to split hairs over the L2 and L3 cache between them. And yeah, it still wants 16 gigs of RAM, GPU 4080. So obviously for 4K gaming, I mean 4080 obviously, I mean it is kind of makes sense, right? 12 gigs of VRAM, SSD required. Now when it comes to ray tracing, and this game does support ray tracing, obviously you do have DLSS, it supports FrameGen as well, and it supports FSR. This is where things go completely interestingly crazy a little bit because it's all over the place. 4K 30 frames or 2K 60 frames, ultra preset, 99K with at least 3080. This is fine. This is you know, this is actually a good mix. I mean, I would say with FrameGen DLSS you're gonna even get 4K with ray tracing and 60 frames. I'm pretty sure about it. Now, when it comes to ray tracing on, because they do have a setting of selective, so it sometimes might ray trace, sometimes might not. If you dip the ray tracing on, essentially constantly, 2K 30 frames, 99K and 3080. So this is for ultra settings of 30 frames with 99K and 3080. Let that sink in. 3080 is not a slow card, and this is why I'm kind of a little bit confused about how they look at all of this, because for 2K 30 without ray tracing, you can get away with RTX 2070. For 2K 30 frames with ray tracing, 3080. 2070 and 3080 is a massive jump in performance. I'm pretty sure everyone who's actually bought into the 2000 series craze, 2060 to 70, someone shelled out 2080 Ti, you will probably recognize the pattern here, that moving from 2080 to 3080 offered roughly 15 to 20% increase depending on the resolution you play, and the main impact was more for ray tracing cores. So when it comes to ray tracing on plus ultra ray tracing, because they have a little weird toggle which essentially enables additional enhanced ray tracing and ray path tracing technology, and that just blows everything out of the water. For 4K 30 frames gameplay on ultra settings, they want you to have the 12 Gen i9 and a 4080. I mean, this is mad. In all honesty, just so you can play this title in 4K 30 frames with maxed out ray tracing, and it doesn't even... Usually, even Ubisoft, when they come out with these nicely put together graphs, they kind of go like DLSS recommended, or, you know, frame gen enabled or recommended. They don't even touch that, so you can kind of, you know, look at this from whichever point of view you want to look at. Either you look at this, oh, if I'm not going to use DLSS and frame gen at the same time, but I'll be able to get 30 frames in 4K, everything ray traced, then I only need a 12 gen i9 and 4080. Oh, that sounds like a good deal, but in reality, that is a powerhouse of a PC already. Like, i9 12 gen 4080, I mean, sign me up. Like, show me a person on this planet who would say, I don't want this build, but to only have this build just for ray tracing and getting 30 frames in 4K, I'm not sure if that's money well spent. Now, ray tracing aside, because we know ray tracing will drop frames and everything like this for yourself, is going to take away a huge chunk of frames by default. I must say they kind of nailed it with the 99K requirement. So the task manager is here for the reason so you can guys see how much processing power this game uses just by running in a background. 85 to 86% CPU utilization at any given moment. 16 gigs of RAM just because the game is not running opened. It's that, and 40% of the GPU just, you know, crunching the numbers somewhere in the background. So this is gonna be the transition point, because sometimes NVIDIA Recorder does not like when I just pull up a game from a background, so I'll see you in the game in now. Wow, it actually continues recording, that's surprising. Didn't even have to make a cut, not that I'm looking forward to it. So, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put this game in full screen, 2K native resolution, no frame rate limit, no vertical sync. Triple buffering is off, we don't want any handicapped, or should I say handouts really. Brightness as it is, no upscaling methods, so we're not gonna use DLSS or FSR. We're not gonna use DLSS frame gen. NVIDIA Reflex is off, and we are going to go with TAA high. The reason for that is, if you're not using temporal anti-aliasing or anti-aliasing in this game whatsoever, everything that's in a distance is flickery mess. Go figure it. Probably DLSS will smooth it over and actually make it much better and also give you a performance boost, but if for whatever reason you do not have access to DLSS, I would recommend using FSR and TAA as much as possible. Well, that again is a personal preference. Now, resolution scaling, we're going with 100%. Dynamic resolution scaling is off. For the graphics, we're going with the Ultra preset, and this is just to drive the point home that they kind of did nail it down a little bit with the requirements, because oh boy, it is a powerhouse. So everything is as per the preset, which includes HBO on full for the ambient occlusion, volumetric lighting, sky quality, and we are leaving the ray traced reflections, occlusion, and everything else as per preset. As per preset, it's selective, so it's not on all the time, which means sometimes your frames might go down a little bit, sometimes they will just be a little bit higher. If you want to utilize RTX, go ahead, you know, who am I to tell you how to live your life. Level of detail ultra, everything else is as it is. So let's just start the new game. I did launch it just to kind of understand how it goes, and honestly, it requires a little bit more of getting used to. The OG Dragon Age players will probably be like, oh, this is even easier than the previous one, so it is how it is. Let's start the new game, and I'm just gonna skip over the intro sequences. No one's gonna watch them anyway, and if you want, you can just watch this once you get the game yourself. Not exactly, you know, curious about the lore here. We're gonna take the first character we get, because we're gonna get a different character apparently anyway. We're gonna go with the rogue. We're gonna get whatever deck we're gonna be dealt with. That's all fine. I don't care. There we go, and bada beam, bada boom, let's go. Now, MSI upper left, you're gonna see how much GPU usage we get, how much GPU allocated VRAM we're using, and the RAM itself. Remember that RAM-wise, it was recommended to have at least 16 gigs, and obviously I have 32, so it is polling more RAM, unless if I only had 16, so, you know, mileage may vary on this.
Before he can perform his ritual.
And currently with no upscaling, no DLSS, no RTX, well, RTX-ish. As you can see, we already see the first dips, and this is the pre-rendered, kinda also live cutscene when it comes to it. Because all the ray tracing is happening real time within the cutscene. That's why you have the selective depth of field and whatnot. So it's not exactly just like a regular cutscene, so to say. So we can talk this out, or we can go to town with the fight. So honestly, you can just guess which option brings what. You might be surprised as well.
How'd you figure, sweet talker?
Nev Gallus is my only shot at finding the Dreadwolf. I need to know where she is. We were supposed to meet here, in your bar, but you let Venatori cultists drag her away.
I didn't let them. They paid me.
So answer my questions and walk away with the coin. Or spend it cleaning up the place when I'm through. Your choice.
You're adorable. Dumat Plaza. That's where you'll find Nev Gallus.
Thank you.
You want to get yourself killed fighting the Venatori? It's your ass.
That offer's good for all of you too. No?
If they won't listen to you, they can always listen to Bianca.
Your friend Nev Gallus is at Dumat Plaza.
I heard. That's why you're my second in command. Although for the record, you might be too charming for your own.
Right, let's speed this up a little bit.
But we do.
Don't get.
Come on.
Don't want to spoil too much for people who haven't played the game. I mean, to be fair, the audio design and the dialogue options are, you know, very similar in my opinion to the previous Dragon Age parts, but that's just my own opinion. I'm obviously missing out on a deeper meaning or, you know, larger things here. And this is what we get here. So, as you can see, we're pulling 9.5 gigs of video memory, 17 gigs of RAM, almost 16, and we're sub 60. And this is purely for the reason that you have selective ray tracing enabled. And we are on 2K Ultra preset with i9 99K and 47 Ti. Now watch the magic, and this is, I guess, what really kind of grinds my gears when it comes to it for the ray tracing. That every time the ray tracing is enabled in the games, it just steals your frames essentially. Like, it literally takes them away. And I don't know, some people do say that, oh, but you know, ray tracing is the future and it kind of pops the colors, brings the scene alive. Yes, but if you're taking a sacrifice of up to 15 frames and you're kind of just trying to get a stable 60, I mean, is DLSS really the way? Because, you know, I'm a huge fan for DLSS, you know, free performance, obviously, frame gen for my card is supported as well, but end of the day, like, can't we just have a game that just runs 60-ish stable? I mean, I wouldn't mind if that was the case, I absolutely wouldn't mind. So yeah, anyway, not spoiling as much as I can, because otherwise we're going to be watching this for 2 hours. And we're going to have our first combat tutorial, which is essentially swing a sting, try to hit something and hope for the best. But yeah, overall the performance is pretty decent, I must say. Obviously, Ultra preset, I could argue with that a little bit, that should you or should you not play this game with Ultra preset on, but it is a bit taxing. Like, this game clearly enjoys having more cores and more threads. And yeah, frame gen, that's something for yourselves to actually check if it actually works out for you, but so far it kind of looks pretty okay for me, I must say. So yeah, we'll see how this goes.
Come on, this way! It should get us to Harding!
Actually forgot I need to pay attention as well. But yeah.
Thank you.
Hard.
I've been doing the
Have you got my
right over.
Obviously dialogue is a huge part of Dragon Age, so you know, don't be surprised. Combat at the beginning is very simple as you might imagine, so nothing new there. Just hit a lot and kind of try not to get hit. There is a dodge option, you can kind of speed away and stuff like this, but that's up to your own playstyle. I'm more of a button smasher when it comes to games like this, so I'm not exactly being tactical in any shape or form.
I think that's the last of them.
Good. Let's get to Dumont Plaza and find Nev.
You are in violation of Imperial order.
Oh no, I think that's Dumont Plaza.
Crap. Let's move. You two all right?
I mean, overall it does look kind of okay though.
I don't get it.
I mean, to be fair, it definitely looks a lot better than the
Doesn't that destroy
original
everything?
Dragon Age, but you know.
I hate these assholes.
More intruders!
Avenge our fallen brethren!
Friendly bunch of
That was
cultists.
a perfect miss.
They crossed the Grey Wardens a
I
few
challenge
years back.
anyone to actually miss as good as I am right now.
I was there.
All citizens must remain indoors. The magical anomaly is fully
Guess we're sliding down.
They're allies of Ned Gallus! Kill them all!
Tetris. The Venatori owns these streets.
Venatori, take your revenge! Another barrier. It looks like Nev's work, not the Venatori's.
So yeah, does this game work? Well, it does. Does it run? Yes. Does it run well? Depends if you like ray tracing and if you have hardware for it. Outside of that, I mean, that's pretty much all there is. I hope this was a bit more informative than my other usual regular videos, but yeah, I don't know. Depends on yourself. Put your comment down below. Are you playing this game? What specs are you running and how does it run? Yay or nay for DLSS or FrameGen? Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Varric, Harding. Not the worst timing.
Nev, it's so good to see you. We thought the Venatori had kidnapped you.
They thought the same thing. A lot of Venatori in the city have reason to hate me. Figured I'd play along. Find out who wanted to settle the score this time.